Hello, my name is Bob, and once again I'd like to welcome you to yet another episode on the White Dog Garage YouTube channel. This is part 5 of the 9-part series on repairing crash damage to a Suzuki GSXR750. We've got everything together now and we're ready to start fitting the fairing. So this episode is going to be about putting the headlight cowling onto the bike. But of course I've got to transfer the headlight across and a few other bits and pieces. It's not all plain sailing, but we get there in the end, so let's get started. I start with the windscreen, for which the owner has bought new fasteners. Each fastener set consists of a cap head screw, a clear plastic washer and an expanding plug. The plastic washer goes under the head of the screw, which then screws into the expanding plug. As the screw tightens the nut at the end of the expanding plug, the rubber contracts, forcing the sides out and up, which in turn hold the windscreen in place. However, before I could fit the windscreen, I needed to file out some of the mounting holes where windscreen material had extruded into the gap. The windscreen has 6 holes in total, and I fitted an expanding plug in each of the front 4 holes. The 2 remaining windscreen holes are for attachment to the cowling support frame. The windscreen mounts fit inside the headlight cowling, with the top of the expanding plug providing a cushion between the 2 surfaces. The screw goes in from the outside, with the plastic washer providing a cushion between the screw head and the cowling. Turning the cowling over, you can see the contracted expanding plugs, and this shows how the windscreen is attached to the cowling. Examining the headlight on the old cowling shows a few defects. 2 wires in the connectors have lost a little bit of insulation, whilst the lugs that hold the headlight cowling to the mounting frame have been smashed out. None of this happened in this crash, and the large diameter body washers used to hold one side of the headlight in place confirms that this was damage from an earlier crash. The 4 screw positions shown here are how the headlight and instrument panel attach to the cowling. I then fitted the headlight to the cowling. The screw mounts beneath the windscreen needed to engage the corresponding lugs in the headlight unit. Once fitted, I inserted and did up the screws. The screws are self-tappers and a degree of effort was required to drive them into the corresponding holes in the new cowling. If the viewer is worried about damaging new mounts like this, then try some soap or another dry lubricant to ease the passage into the hole. Once I had them all in place, I went around and progressively tightened up the 4 screws, and then the cowling was ready to fit. The cowling is attached to the headlight frame by 3 screws on each side, 2 of which also hold the mirror on. Normally, the lugs at the rear of the headlight would have to insert into these 2 mounts on the frame, but as they were missing from this headlight, I needed only to worry about engaging the top screw mounts. The 2 top arms of the cowling need to be pulled slightly apart to go over the mirror mounts in the frame. I pushed the cowling on from the front, making sure it correctly engaged the air intake tubes, and the leads were on the inside of the right hand side ram tube. Then I manipulated the top of the cowling until it sat correctly over the mirror mounts. Then I fitted the mirror rubber, followed by the mirror itself. I keep all the mirror screws loose at that stage. Then I fitted one of the windscreen screws with its plastic washer to the end position. With that done, I then tightened up the mirror screws. I then repeated this process on the other side. Then I reconnected the switch blocks for the harness section that goes to the headlight and instruments. All I needed to do then was to ensure that the headlight worked and the engine started. With the headlight cowling out of the way, we're ready to move on to the lower fairing panels, and I will cover that in part 6. Of course, if you want to catch part 6, the best way to do that is to subscribe to the channel. It's easy, hit the subscribe bar down below. While you're there, ding the bell so that you'll get a notification from YouTube when part 6 loads, or any other episode for that matter. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.